And in this video, we're going to be covering essentially setting the right KPIs, so the right key performance indicators for appointment setters. Second, incorporating non-negotiables, so things that need to be done no matter at what cost, right? Management framework, and also troubleshooting problems. So let's start off with setting the right KPIs, okay? And the trick to every big month is momentum. And you need to make sure that you know how to control that momentum and how to build it up. And that is done through KPIs. And here, if you basically reach this doc, which we're all attaching, like by the way, down below, these are the main KPIs that we look at, right? And I'd love that actually one video go for you. But you also have to understand that with practice, even though it's a numbers game, every single day is different in the inbox. And what's important here is that you don't want to micromanage your setter again or be in their app if they didn't book like 3 to 5 bookings in a specific day, because it's ebbs and flows and it can happen, right? As long as you do what you can do with the KPIs, that's perfect, right? Don't try to overcompensate, right? So my setters have days when they book 1 to 2 calls each day. And then sometimes they book 10 to 12. Like today, they're already on 6. Yesterday, they booked 8. So don't panic when the number is lower. Trust the process and focus on the KPIs and stay objective, okay? So now for a more specific set of KPIs for Facebook, here's kind of what we do. And here's like kind of what the general rule of thumb is of what we recommend, okay? So we recommend you do 120 to 180 follow-ups per day, depending on the size of your audience and like how big your CRM is. 20 to 30 new conversations per day, depending on like how old your Facebook or IG or LinkedIn account is and what the limits for it are, okay? I would say always try to emphasize some follow-ups because the leads are just warmer and hotter because you already had past call with them or past conversation. So it's just better time spent. Plus, you don't get a block, right? If you reach out to too many people that you've not got a friendship with on Facebook or on IG, they're not following you, they tend to block you a lot faster, which is gonna like affect your ability to do setting efficiently. And lastly, calls per post. So 8 to 20, again, depending on the size of your audience and how nurtured the people that you're talking with are. If you've got no authority, it's harder, right? If you only have 2 followers, it's very hard, right? So hence why like you need to have lead flow, authority, you know what to do content. And that's gonna make your setter's life so much easier, okay? Quick note, when it comes to Instagram, you want to be aiming for very similar KPIs. However, just note with IG, you can push more new conversations. And usually we do about like 80 to 100 new conversations on IG per day too, while decreasing the amount of total follow-ups to like 120, 140. It's like kind of the way we segment it and how we do it and how we like would recommend it to you too, to set like a baseline for yourself. So let's talk about non-negotiables, okay? And it's important to like set standards in your culture, okay? Because you got to lead by example and people got to know what the rules are and what are like the minimum standards they need to like uphold, okay? So it's important to have these boundaries for you and your team that are to be respected every single workday because they're a part of the workflow and they need to be completed always. And I suggest setting up a call with your team member or members for each specific department and talking about the non-negotiables they have to do on a daily basis. And the way you can present this is the following. Take ownership and show them what your own daily non-negotiables are and why that's important to you and to the business and how that's helping them. Help them understand the importance of having them in place and how it will impact the business in a positive way, because then with that, they can make more commissions. They can make more in a percentage or equity or profit share, depending on like the person of the department you're speaking to. 3, lead the way by setting some initial non-negotiables for each department to get feedback from your team and then brainstorm together other stuff that they can do on a daily that you guys can add to the list. And here are non-negotiables. Just to, again, not leave you with any theory. As I said on like the first video, we're just showing you like real life practices here. So this is the 4 non-negotiables we have. So number 1, end of the day report. Don't know your numbers. How can you ever troubleshoot and fix your issues? If someone doesn't share their end of the day report, I'm on their ass. If they do it twice, I give them a warning. If they do it again, I give them another warning. If they do it again, they're out. Right? Pretty straightforward. But again, it is the rule that we have and it's the non-negotiable. Beginning of the day report, making sure your team members are happy, focused, aligned, and have clarity on their vision. If they're not, help them with it, right? Lead qualification, SOP. Making sure all the leads that have a call with our sales team are qualified and the setter gave context to the closure based on the conversation that happened in the inbox, right? That's like essentially what it serves for. So like the closer 2 is having a good time on the calls. 4, daily huddle. We meet once per day to make sure we're on the same page, talk about leads, pipeline, ask questions, give feedback, etc., etc. And to contextualize on this, we do this from like Monday to Friday for 20 to 30 minutes per day, and that's it. So, management framework. So your duty as a leader and manager is to keep your team accountable, help them if they're struggling, be the number one person they can reach out to, right? Kind of like that big brother, and provide feedback. And lastly, lead the way with a strong vision and develop a strong team culture, right? That is your duty and your responsibility, no matter what management role you're in, whether it's delivery, sales, operations, like that is your responsibility. So in this video, we're going to be covering what makes a top 1% appointment setters, sourcing setters, interviewing setters on Zoom, onboarding, troubleshooting, and keeping your 1% setter for the long term, and understanding how to paint a vision. Okay, so let's dive into the first topic, which is what makes a top 1% appointment setter. And it starts like you can hire for two things, right? And you should always hire for two things: skill set and character/culture. Now, there's one that I prefer. It's character/culture. So before I dive into the bullet points I prepare for you, that's a really important distinction to make, because most people hire for skill set. Like, oh, what's the setter's experience? Oh, even though like he's a bit of a dick on the call in the interview, I'll still take him on because I need a setter. Trust me, you're going to regret the decision in a month or a couple of months or 6-12 months time, whatever it is, right? Because if someone doesn't have the right character or is not a culture fit, it's not really something that you can train. You could change, but it's very difficult. It's not even something you want to change after you probably change it. You'll realize that it's a lot of work, not worth it, right?